Good morning, everyone. Hi. You all do that better than my students do. Good job. So welcome to our service from the Unitarian Society of Northampton in Florence. I'm Laura Schroeder. I'm your worship liaison this morning, and I'm the co-chair of the worship committee. If you're new or returning after a time away, we're glad to see you. Please feel free to fill out a blue welcome card, which you can put in the offering plate later in the service. There's a link to an online version in the chat. We'll put you on our email list so you can receive information about all that we do. We strive to be a congregation that welcomes people of all ages, races, religious beliefs, backgrounds, sexual orientations, gender identities, and abilities. We belong to the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, and we are guided and inspired by its values and principles. Our values and principles move us to remember that those of us in the Connecticut River Valley live in the unceded homeland of the Pecumtuck, Nonotuck, and Western Nipmuc peoples. We acknowledge our responsibility to confront the legacies of dispossession and systemic racism that are part of our collective history, and we affirm and celebrate the many legacies that inspire us. We have drawing material and other ways to occupy hands on the tables in the back. Restrooms are downstairs and reach through one of those doors. You can either take the stairs or an elevator and return the same way. After the service, the Embrace Race for UU Families program will meet in the Sojourner Truth Room. And I have a few more announcements. It's time to order Easter lilies. Orders need to be in by March 31st. Find the form at the Great Hall entrance and in the Sunday Times email. And the other announcement, Arita's son is having a dinner to raise funds for a trip to Italy, which he gets to do as part of his curriculum at the Smith Vocation School. It will be April 5th at 5 p.m. for $20, and I'll put the poster, the contact information, probably down here after this service, or you can talk to Arita, obviously. I would like to invite Jess Jones to come to the pulpit and share a search committee announcement.
Good morning. Who should constitute the team that searches for our next settled minister? This is the question that the board asks each of us at USNF to ponder and share our thoughts on in the coming weeks. We need to form a ministerial search team of up to 7 members who will begin the search this summer. That team will follow the UUA's process for soliciting and considering applications and interviewing a small number of the most promising applicants before selecting a single candidate to present to the congregation. The work will be both exciting and challenging, requiring a significant time commitment starting summer 2025 and ending May 2026, with the most intense time likely being February and March 2026. We need people who are good listeners, able to work collaboratively, well organized, and in tune with the needs and hopes of significant portions of the congregation. The search team will be responsible for developing a process that is good for itself, the congregation, and Unitarian Universalism. During the month of April, we will ask for nominations of people who would be good search team members. A member of the board or nominating committee will call you to answer questions about the search and take your nominations. Please respond to these calls. Additionally, there will be opportunities to give your feedback to board members at upcoming community dinners, of which there is one this week. We will follow up with an emailed survey to solicit input from people we couldn't reach by phone or at the community dinners. Who can serve on the search team? Any USNF member except current members of the Board of Trustees, members of the interim minister's transition team, and staff or staff spouses. So please be thinking about people, including yourself, who might serve us well on the search committee, and be ready to answer those phone calls or come see us at dinner or answer that survey. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jess. We're here to celebrate, to reflect, and to support one another. It is good to be together, and now we'll begin our service.
Good morning. I just wanted to let you know, if you don't know already, that we will be hosting an organ recital this coming Saturday at 3 p.m. Justin Murphy Mancini is releasing a recording which centers the work of UU musicians throughout American history. Composers include composers on the disc grew up in Hartford, Lowell, and Portland, and most of them worked in UU churches in the region. So it's an interesting and kind of different program. It will be a free will offering split by him and the society. So it's an hour long. So even if you're not in love with organ music, you can come. But it's a great opportunity to hear the instrument with some different music. So.
Morning. Today's opening words are by Akaya Winwood. She's a movement leader and she's working now with Third Act. There is a phenomenon in gardening where, as a plant reaches the end of its life, it blossoms like never before and then dies. Humans sometimes do this as well. I believe that this is what's happening for patriarchy and other systems based on hierarchy. We are witnessing the final gasps of systemic oppression and control, perhaps worldwide.
I invite everyone to rise and body your spirit for our chalice sliding, and we'll remain standing for the first hymn. Flame, we kindle you again today, yet in truth you burn always, in the magic of human connection, in the miracle of earth's abundance, in the call to hope and justice. Burn bright before us, burn bright within us.
Our first hymn is 170 in the Gray Hymnal. We are a gentle, angry people.
Good morning. Okay, is it on? I'm Jessica, I'm the Director of Faith Development and Community Engagement, and our story this morning is Change Sings. So we've got a theme going, and this is from the very inspiring poet and activist Amanda Gorman, who I think many of you saw at Biden's inauguration. She was the first National Youth Poet Laureate to ever be awarded that title. If you'd like to come closer to see the book, you're welcome to. The slides will have the pictures as well. I can hear change humming in its loudest, proudest song. I don't fear change coming, and so I sing along. I scream with the skies of red and blue streamers. I dream with the cries of tried and true dreamers. I'm a chant that rises and sings and rings. There is hope where my change sings. And they're starting to organize. Though some don't understand it, those windmills of mysteries, I sing with all the planets and its hills of histories. So if you can't tell, they're starting to clean up the playground. Their instruments are waiting for now. I hum with 100 hearts, each of us lifting a hand. I use my strengths and smarts, take a knee to make a stand. I'm bright as the light each day brings. There is love where my change sings. So this little group is starting to reach out to the wider community. I show others tolerance, though it might take some courage. Doesn't look like he's up for the music quite yet, but, oh, they persisted. I don't make a taller fence, but fight to build a better bridge. And what they're building is a ramp to make this house more accessible. I talk not only of distances from where and how we came. I also walk our differences to show we are the same. I'm a movement that roars and springs. There's a wave where my change sings. Band's starting to get together. Change sings where? There, inside me, because I'm the change I want to see. As I grow, it grows like seeds. I am just what the world needs. They're starting to spruce up the neighborhood with flower boxes. I'm the voice where freedom rings. You're the love your bright heart brings. We are the waves starting to spring, for we are the change we sing. We're what the world is becoming, and we know it won't be long. This mural of the kids playing music says, "We are the change." And as I'm reading this, I keep thinking of so many of you that are really taking action right now and coming together. We all hear change strumming. Won't you sing along? And that's the end, the invitation to join.
We'll be singing out the children with Now Go Now in Peace. And now it's time for us to greet one another. Those of you in the Great Hall, please wave if you're to the camera in the back. If you're on Zoom, you are invited to turn on your videos, wave and say hello in the chat. It's helpful to switch to gallery view. I'd like to say good morning to everybody on Zoom. Good morning, Molly. Good morning, Alan, Anne. Good morning, Arlene, Beth Ann, Beth, Cheryl, Cullen, Eleanor, Elizabeth, Georgia, Jane, Janet, Julie, Kim, Lillian, Linda, Lucy, Lynn, Mary Beth, Molly, Naomi, Patricia, Rich, Rich, Rick, Robbie, Sally, Susan, Virginia, Wendla. Good morning, everyone. It has been good to see everyone. If you're on Zoom, please remember to turn off your videos. And now we'll have Dave Reutman with the Social Justice Minute.
Morning, everyone. Hello. I'm Dave Reutman. This is the Social Justice Minute. This is Dave Reutman with laryngitis, which recognizes that as Unitarian Universalists, we're called powerfully to take action on social justice and the environment. First, I want to thank the 228 people who are now on our Democracy Action Team Google group. So we are the Democracy Action Team. And I want to thank the 50 plus people who are part of our 7 Democracy Action groups. These groups are State Actions, Immigrant Rights, Trans Safety, Reproductive Care, Information Security, Community Care, Writing Club, and Affinity groups. And you'll be hearing from some of these groups' conveners later in the service. So now an announcement. Please join us after the service in the parlor to learn about 2 events. First is Advocacy Day on April 8th, and the second is Nonviolence Training on April 26th. So on Advocacy Day, April 8th, we'll be gathering on Zoom with other UUs around the state to build community, learn about issues, learn some skills, and meet with legislators. And this is organized by UU Mass Action. So you'll be learning more about that if you come to the parlor. And then on April 26th, second event, downstairs, we'll be working with 2 experienced trainers to learn skills for nonviolent direct action and learn about affinity groups. That's the best way to organize for nonviolent action. So if you're interested in either of these or both, please join us in the parlor. If you can't make it, there will be information in the Sunday Times, but just come see me, or Susie McCrae is here. And speaking of Susie McCrae, where are you, Susie? Yeah, you've got postcards, right? Where are you going to be after? Right there. Okay, see Susie. Okay, so. Meditation. Okay, I'm still here. Okay, do we have the meditation slides up? I can't see. Somebody give me a thumbs up. Not yet, okay. Huh? Let me know when they're up. What's that? Okay. Okay, so there are 5 habits of the heart that were defined by Parker J. Palmer. Oh, I brought the book, but I forgot I was going to hold it up. Anyway, is Nancy Sardison here? Is Nancy, hey Nancy. Nancy turned us on to this book. It's a phenomenal book. So let's read these 5 habits together, and then I'm going to say something after we read them. So 3 of them should be up there, right? First 3. Oh, all 5 are up there. Oh, good. Okay. So just read with me. Understanding we're all in this together, appreciating the value of otherness, ability to hold tension in life-giving ways, belief in your personal voice and agency, capacity to create community. So what I'm going to invite us all to do for the next few moments, think about this. How are these essential to a thriving democracy? How are we doing? family, congregation, town, society? And how can we change what we need to change? So we'll have these in the Sunday Times. I've got a few copies up here, but let's take a few moments now to just reflect on these. Well, this may be the first time you're doing this, but I hope it's not the last.
Okay, what's next? So we have Sarah's hymn. Is she going to introduce it or do you want?
I think you go ahead.
So now we're going to sing the hymn, O Beautiful for Spacious Skies. You all should have received, yes, if you would stand as you're able, should have received papers with the music on it and song. Great. Did they get the music? Yeah. Okay.
Play it for us once first because the tune isn't in one that's in our hymn book and you may not know it.
Okay.
So,
So we're going to move to the call for offering. Our generosity makes everything we do possible, and it helps us support organizations and movements in the greater community. Half the proceeds for each week's offering support the Society's operating budget, and half are shared outside of our walls. You may mail in a check, donate online, or put your contribution in one of the plates that the ushers will pass. The offering will now be given and greatly received.
The choir is about to sing you a portion of Irving Berlin's setting of Emma Lazarus's great poem, The New Colossus, which is engraved on a plaque mounted on the Statue of Liberty. But first, I want to give you a little context about these people and about the poem. Emma Lazarus's family were among the earliest Jewish immigrants to this country. They were Sephardic Jews fleeing the tail end of the Spanish Inquisition, and they arrived in the U.S. in the mid-1600s when New York was still called New Amsterdam. There, they became very successful. Emma, born in 1849, received a classical education and became a poet and translator whose work was praised by our own Ralph Waldo Emerson. Later, she took up the cause of Jewish immigrants fleeing poverty and pogroms, who began arriving in New York around 1881. Her social prominence led to her being asked to write a poem for a fundraiser for the creation of the statue then called Liberty Enlightening the World. Her interest in the plight of refugees is expressed in the content of that poem. She wrote the poem in 1883. It was warmly received and subsequently forgotten. Lazarus saw the statue raised just 1 year before she died, but it then had no plaque. Her poem was rediscovered some years later, and eventually it was added to the pedestal in 1903, and it became famous worldwide. Clearly, it struck a chord. It is hard to think of any words outside of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution more closely identified with the meaning of America. Certainly, these words meant a great deal to Irving Berlin, who was born Israel Belin in 1888 in Imperial Russia, one of 8 children. Later, he said his earliest memory was of lying wrapped in a blanket by the side of a road, watching his house burn to the ground. Fleeing persecution, the family arrived at Ellis Island in 1893. Berlin was 5. By the time he was 8, he went to work selling newspapers. His father died when he was 13, and he worked in bars and restaurants, some of which had pianos, which he taught himself to play. From these humble origins, he rose to become a songwriter so prolific and so iconic, writing Blue Skies, Easter Parade, White Christmas, Puttin' on the Ritz, and of course, God Bless America, that Jerome Kern said of him, Irving Berlin has no place in American music. He is American music. We will be singing only a portion of Lazarus's sonnet, The New Colossus, but I want to read you the whole poem, which so deftly contrasts the Colossus of Rhodes, another great statue guarding a harbor in ancient Greece, heart of the old world, with liberty, the symbol of the new world. Please note that the meaning of the phrase wretched refuse was understood differently in the 1880s. Wretched meant suffering, deserving of pity. Refuse meant those who were rejected or expelled. Also, the twin cities mentioned here were New York and Brooklyn, not yet merged. The New Colossus. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land, here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame. Keep, ancient lands, your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed, to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door.
Hello again. For the next 20 or so minutes, four of us who are convening democracy action groups will take a few minutes each to tell you first, what are the spiritual roots of our work, and second, a bit about what our groups are doing. And I'll go first, and then is Keturah here? I hadn't seen, great, you're here. Come on up anytime. Keturah Krebs and Carl, I see you, Carl, and Teresa Amabile. So I'm going to begin with a question. Who are we as a nation? A couple of weeks ago, I heard the historian John Meacham answer this question, saying that we've been a divided nation since our beginnings. How could it be any other way? Our founding documents embraced diversity, equality, and inclusion, even while our economy was based on slavery and the oppression of indigenous peoples. And racism was baked into our mother tongue. And every wave of immigrants has always been treated as the other. So Meacham is just one of many to highlight that, although the word unite is in our name, we've always been divided. That's who we are. I knew this in my heart growing up in New York City. We were a Jewish family living in a neighborhood with a lot of Irish, Italian, and Polish families. I had a few scuffles as a kid and got called the names that Jews were called, just as I and my friends slurred everyone we didn't consider part of our group. My father had escaped Russian pogroms in 1917. My uncle was his family's only Auschwitz survivor. Well, they were liberals, my whole family was, strongly supported civil rights, fully embraced the American dream. Those two guys, I don't think they ever assumed America was fully safe for them. Our high school had 2 black kids across town in Harlem. Schools were all black and Puerto Rican. So growing up, I did know firsthand something about our divided nation. When I was 19, I majored in philosophy, and I was steeped in the virtues of rational thought. Then I took a course in world religions, read from the Bible, the Quran, the Upanishads, books on Buddhism, Native American, African spirituality, and more. So somehow, from somewhere, the idea occurred to me there's one singular voice speaking throughout all these faiths. And that voice is saying, if you're alive in this world, there's paradox. Everywhere you look. That's what religion is for. It's our way of dealing with paradox. And to be clear, by paradox, I mean, quote, a situation, person, or things that combine contradictory features or qualities. Paradox. We can be oh so kind, oh so cruel, sometimes the same person. To live together well, we know we must be generous to each other, and it's often the selfish who thrive. We live our lives as if we'll live forever, and then suddenly, gone. We want to feel safe and to love our sisters and brothers in community. We all do, and yet we ostracize anybody who doesn't fit in. We all tend to do that at times. And on and on. Well, actually, not quite yet, because in the middle of the night, I wrote 2 more cards. To truly know and be yourself, you must let go of yourself. That's kind of a paradox. And to know stability, you must accept constant change. So paradox abounds. Well, it didn't make sense to me then, and rationalist philosophers certainly weren't any help. But then I realized that all this paradox calls us to look beyond our lives, look beyond, look to faith. Just faith. Learn how to deal with the paradox of life in community, together, in every moment. Remember, we said and read Parker Palmer, holding tension in life-giving ways. So, briefly, I'm called right now to preserve democracy. I know it's our best chance to work through these tensions. They'll always be here when we live together. Democracy is not just a way to organize political power, it's a spiritual practice. So, in the interest of time, I'm not going to go through all the work that the State Actions Immigrant Rights Group is doing. You can read more about it in the Sunday Times. Make sure you're on the Google group. Yeah, we're working on some really important bills to protect the vulnerable, and we'll be meeting with our legislators soon. So join us in the parlor to learn more. And I just want to close by saying every day I get to do this work, I'm very grateful for the opportunity and grateful to be in community with you. And now we're going to hear from Keturah.
Good morning. I'm Keturah, and I'm the convener for the reproductive rights team and the transport team here at USNF. I was asked to come up and give you a heads up on what we've been up to and to invite anyone interested in joining us. So I have to say, our teams have not been getting off to a great start. It has been difficult finding a time when we can all meet in person, but some of us have been doing some homework independently and learning about different groups and organizations that we can learn from and support. For the reproductive rights team, I've been attending the Swing Left Western Mass Indivisible Reproductive Rights Zoom meeting. That's a mouthful. Also, we've collaborated with the UU Society of Amherst to share information, resources, and support. We've been learning from local abortion rights advocates like Carrie Baker, too. For the trans support team, we've been discussing ideas for trans support groups and ways to support the USNF members that are hosting travelers. Now is a crucial time to find our people and share the burden of the work that needs to be done. Since our Worth Fighting for workshop on December 1st, I think many of us realize that we may have overextended ourselves and signed up for so many social justice groups that it has been overwhelming. I know that I have been feeling that way to a certain extent, not to mention our personal lives get busy. That I can really relate to. I want to say, take a deep breath and take stock of what you find to be most important to you and continue to remain engaged. Contributing to one team could very well invigorate you and keep you from going down that hole. And you know what the hole is. If each of us gets involved with one team and focuses our energies on that group, knowing that other people will be focusing their energies on the other teams, then maybe we won't feel so overwhelmed. For instance, I feel relieved to know that we have a team focusing on immigration and the writers group that are communicating with our legislators. I care about these things, but they're not the absolute dearest to my heart. And for instance, if I see something in the news about Chuck Schumer letting us down, I feel relieved that a little piece of me as part of the sum of the USNF congregation is letting him know that he's being an ass. In conclusion, despair is what the president wants. We cannot give him that. We cannot allow ourselves to get used to the administration's unethical changes. It's unacceptable. As UUs, we must find the strength together to make a difference. We are fortunate to be able to say the word together. Not everyone can say that they have a community like USNF to help hold each other up, right? Going forward, that is an asset that we really need to lean into. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Carl Moore. I'm a member of the Unitarian Society of Northampton and Florence Information Security Study Team, which is a handful, and I'm obviously too far from the mic, which we abbreviate to ISST because we don't like saying all those words. Note that I'm not one of the conveners. I'm not brave enough for that. Eric Broadband in the back is the one that actually convened the group. And I also like to thank Rebecca and Kent, who make a great team. I'm really enjoying working with these people. How did I get here? A few weeks after the November elections, I joined about 40 members downstairs, and Dave Reutman had gathered a bunch of people, and we were talking about things we could do. And we threw out names of groups, and there's really only one group for a linear thinking, computer programming geek like me. I don't want to go interview a bunch of people. I like get my hands in technical stuff. So it was a perfect group for me. So what have I learned, and why am I concerned? Email, Google, Yahoo, and AOL are all reading your mail. They're sharing with their contractors. They're sharing who's getting it, when you're getting it, and the contents. Apple, Comcast, and the rest are at least sharing who you're communicating with. Documents. Your Google Docs are being read for marketing. Google clearly admits this. They put it on their pages. Texts, your texts are being monitored, and not necessarily, they may be encrypted, but there's who you're communicating with and how often is being known. The phone. The government records almost all the phone calls, many of the emails and text. They're able to do this because of a Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, Section 702, which is coming up for renewal next year, by the way. This was greatly expanded after 7/11, allows the collection by the government of all communication of the governor, of the people of the United States. Communication with foreigners can be shared to the law enforcement without warrant. communication between US citizens is supposed to have a warrant, but they're still collecting it, and it's kind of like it's okay, we collect all this data, but we're not going to look at it. It's just there for safe, that. Remember Edward Snowden, this was the big revelation he had. Your locations, like through your phone, is collected by all providers. Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, Mint, Google, they are providing all this information to vendors and to law enforcement without any warrants. So people say, why does this matter, I have nothing to hide. And I have two quick answers. One is, if the only people using secure communication are the people fighting for our justice, then it makes them very easy targets. Second of all, if you're not speaking up against this racist regime, fascist regime, then maybe we're not really saying the right things. Here's a few words by people smarter than me. The First Amendment. Congress shall take no law abridging the freedom of speech or the press, or the right of people peacefully to assemble. On this, the ACL writes, the reasonable fear that U.S. government is spying on communication will deter journalists, lawyers, activists, and others from communicating freely on the internet. Again from the ACLU, the Fourth Amendment guarantees the right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures. Large-scale, warrantless surveillance of Americans' private communication is at odds with this basic principles. So what is our team doing? We are researching how the USNF uses communication, where it stores its data. We are looking for more secure ways to communicate, share data. We are writing help sheets for our groups to use. We're providing basic training, robustness, and troubleshooting classes. And we're trying to stay abreast of all security issues so we will know when things change, things have to be updated. Here's a few things that you can do. You can educate yourself about privacy. I have some handouts from our team. You probably have received them before. I'll put them in the corner here after the service. You can pick up some. It just basically introduces our group and what we're doing and things that we're working on, and gives us a link to our site. You can switch your messaging to Signal and use it. This is not just a secure app. You can still send those cat pictures to your relatives, your favorite songs to your friends. You can communicate with your family. You can also use it for secure phone calls or for video calls. But Signal is a small nonprofit company. They're providing free service because they believe in it. They're adding, it's ad-free, there's no advertisement on it. And they're trying to compete with large giants like Google and Meta, Facebook. So we should support them. Third thing you can do, if you're doing social justice work, you should move your network storage to a more secure site. The ISS team recommends Proton Drive or CryptPad, and certainly we have that information on that. And I recommend that you join one of our democracy action teams. And that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Teresa Mobile. November 6th, 2024 was a very bad day for me. Like many of us, I found myself sinking into deep despair over the nationwide election results. Trump back in the White House, Republican Senate, Republican House. Project 2025 rolling forward. Did our UU values with love at the center have a chance in the 4 bleak years staring us down from the future? What could I possibly do to give our values a fighting chance? During the Vietnam War, which I'd strongly opposed, I'd spent hours marching and chanting in protest. I'd spent days formulating anti-bombing petitions to Congress, then going door to door in suburban neighborhoods for signatures. Now, over 50 years later, my feet and my voice are much weaker. My physical stamina and willingness to spend time in jail are much diminished. But there's one thing I can do much better now than I could in my 20s. I can write. So that's where I've chosen to spend my time, energy, and talent, writing and helping fellow USNF members write public statements to counteract disinformation, decry illegal and unjust actions, and inspire the public to work for justice. That's why, along with Terry Herniker, I'm working as co-convener of the Democracy Action Team called the Writing Club, a name that we hope is sufficiently non-intimidating to entice others of you to join us. The purpose of the Writing Club, which currently has 11 members, is to publish brief public statements supporting democracy, principled democratic leaders, and democratic institutions, and opposing actions and individuals that subvert democracy. We do this by submitting letters to the editor and op-ed pieces to local and national newspapers, creating posts on social media platforms, and using other means such as posting comments on highly visible news sites and newsletters. All that we do is guided by Unitarian Universalist values and principles. Since December 1st, when our group was formed, we've had some great successes. We've published letters to the editor and/or op-ed pieces in the Washington Post, the Daily Hampshire Gazette, the Republican in Springfield, and Mass Live online. We've published comments to high-profile articles in the New York Times and the Washington Post. We have written to state and local legislators, as well as Governor Healy. And we have posted many public-facing pieces on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, and even the dreaded X. The topics have ranged from climate, immigrant protections, Social Security, illegal federal actions, and democracy to public health, political wives, veterans' rights, care for the most vulnerable in our society and the world, and how Unitarian Universalist congregations can lift us from paralyzing despair in this time of crisis. I hope you'll consider joining us. Our group will help you get started and keep you going. Just see or email Terry or me. Terry, could you stand up and just turn around so people on Zoom can see who you are? Please do this and never, ever give in or give up.
Thank you, Democracy in Action Team, for sharing with us today. Will you please rise as you're able, and we're going to sing the closing hymn in the gray hymnal, number 131, Love Will Guide Us.
closing words. Joyce Vance, who made a name for herself by prosecuting civil rights cases in Alabama, has this to say about being in community in a democratic society. As a community, we can work all the angles of democracy. Some of us will focus on our city councils and school boards, others on state government, and some on the White House, Congress, and the courts. Some of us will work to support the free press and other democratic institutions. We will keep up the fight for fairness and justice at federal, state, and local levels of government. We will continue to demand that our civil rights be protected. Democracy occupies a lot of space, not all of it on Capitol Hill and in the White House. Make some of it yours. Build a community around you that supports democracy. And now you may remain seated and listen to this really cool song we're going to sing.
Good morning. I'm John Weismore. I want to thank David Royman for inviting me to play with this piece. The process of getting ready for it has actually been quite inspiring. The first thing was I was a little curious what we were going to be singing, and it's in Arabic, and I don't speak Arabic. I don't suspect many of you do, but so I will give you a brief translation. The words are Naftahu Ata Nana Alhamdulillah. It means we open we open our minds, give thanks to the Great Spirit, hallelujah. We open our hearts and give thanks to the Great Spirit, hallelujah. We reach out our hands and do the work and give thanks to the Great Spirit, hallelujah. Naftahu